In this video, I'll be talking about the governor's consent, and that will be about the last title we will be discussing in detail in this series. So many academicians, lawyers, and intellectuals have tried to define what a governor's consent is, and they end up every time confusing simple-minded people like me and you with big grammar. So I'm going to attempt to do the impossible by breaking it down and then showing you exactly how it operates under the law. If you're new here, I welcome you especially to my channel. Here we hold high value conversations around wealth creation and wealth retention using real estate as the vehicle. My name is Osinachuku Godsent, and to our returning viewers, I say thank you for staying with us. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel so we'll grow it together. When it comes to understanding the governor's consent, a simple formula is this: when a land with a certificate of occupancy or right of occupancy is being transferred or sold, the state governor's consent is required, period. It involves obtaining the governor's approval for the transaction and serves as a validation of the transfer of ownership. The initial owner of the virgin land that has never been occupied by another person nor under acquisition of the government is entitled and qualified to get a certificate of occupancy on that land. But every subsequent buyer of the same piece of land is required to get a governor's consent, because there can only be one owner of the certificate of occupancy. For every time there is a change of ownership of that property, the new buyer must obtain the consent of the governor in his name before that transaction can be deemed legal in the eyes of the government. And the process continues like that. In other words, the first person on a land is the only person or group of persons entitled to obtain a certificate of occupancy. As you already know, the governor can never issue another certificate of occupancy for that particular property to the new buyer. His office can only issue a governor's consent. Every subsequent buyer of that land must get a governor's consent. There can only be one owner of the certificate of occupancy on that land, and it will not be replicated for another person once the land has been sold or transferred to the next person. The powers of the governor to consent to such transactions can be found in Section 22 of the Land Use Act of 1978 as amended, which states thus: it shall not be lawful for the holder of a statutory right of occupancy granted by the governor to alienate his right of occupancy or any part thereof by assignment, mortgage, and transfer of possession, sublease, or otherwise howsoever, without the consent of the governor first had and obtained. With this power, the governor has the right to grant consent to any transaction which he thinks has not contravened any law of the land. And if the consent has been obtained fraudulently, the governor is also entitled to revoke the consent immediately. It is also very important for a purchaser of a land to perfect his or her documents by obtaining a governor's consent so as to have a complete rest of mind. Although it's good to buy land that already has a global CFO or the land that has a gazette, it still doesn't give you the full satisfaction you own the land without any form of fear or intrusion by your moneyless. Your documents have not been perfected, and the consent of the governor to that transaction has not been obtained. Lastly, please note, the governor's consent also derives its years of validity from the number of years remaining on the root CFO. So if the remaining number of years on the CFO is 70 years, that also applies to the governor's consent. In my next video, I'll try to tie this whole conversation on documents and titles together and mention some others that are not so popular that I left out, just in case you come across any of them. If this video has helped you, please like it, share it, and most importantly, subscribe to my channel so we'll grow it together. My name is Godsent Osinachuku.